You're listening to the Geek Saga podcast. This episode features audio that was recorded at a discussion panel at DragonCon 2025. Please consider backing us at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment for early access to these podcasts and other perks. All right, welcome to the High Fantasy Tracks Night of the Seven Kingdoms panel. How many in here have not read the novellas? You're probably going to get spoiled for some stuff. Just wanted to clear the air there. Last year we did a similar panel because we thought the show was going to come out and it didn't. So this year we have a little bit more show stuff, so I'm going to try to keep it to first novella stuff. But, you know, if anybody in the audience has something you want to say or has a question that's about the second or third one, that's totally fine too. So with that stuff out of the way, my name is Tara. I am the moderator of this panel. You can find me on the web at Geek Saga. I'm an author and a podcaster, and I founded and ran Ice and Fire Con, which was the first ever US-based Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire convention for a decade. We've been on a couple-year hiatus, but I'm hoping to come back with a small event to start with again in 2026, so fingers crossed. And we'll go online here, introduce the panelists, and then we'll get started.
Hello everybody, my name is Shane McInnis. I am a college teacher for trade. I teach history and sociology and anthropology for fun. I spend my time also teaching, but on the internet for free. Mostly you can find me on my Twitch page where I stream history stuff for free.
Hi, I'm Anna. For my day job, I work for Cocomelon, but I also write movie and TV criticism at drinkinthemovies.com. Everyone, please give me clicks. drinkinthemovies.com/Anna-Harrison. And at some point I have a Game of Thrones retrospective coming out, but my editor is like, you're really behind on that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm trying. So at some point, please read that.
Hi, I'm Courtenay Cody. I'm a producer, director, podcaster. I have a Game of Thrones podcast called Games for the Throne. You can catch me at 3cstudiosmultimedia.com.
So I thought this is not a super early panel. It's 1 o'clock. I would hope you guys are all awake, but I know it's DragonCon. So I thought that since we did such a similar panel last year, I wanted to start with something a little different, a little fun. We're just going to do a quick little Who in Westeros Am I game, just to kind of kick things off, okay? You guys are in the audience, obviously, are welcome to guess. Panelists, of course, you too. By the way, these are all characters only from the Hedge Knight, okay? So they are all only from the Hedge Knight. I mean, they might appear in the later ones, but they're Hedge Knight clues. So I'm going to start with one clue for each, and then if nobody can get it, I'll go on until the fourth clue, and if nobody gets it after the fourth clue, then I will give you the answer. I'm told that I'm bad at these things because everything's too hard. I had to give away running the trivia at Ice and Fire Con after some years because people said my questions were too hard, so I'm hoping I did better this time. Okay, so character number 1, first clue. He was a commander during the first Blackfire Rebellion.
That's 20 people.
Maekar?
Yes! Holy crap! Okay, the other clues were that he didn't get along with Bloodraven. Who did? He was never supposed to be king. I have no idea what this says. I don't know my own handwriting. And the fourth one was his seat was Summerhall. But, all right, well, that was too easy. Jeez. Okay. Character number 2. This is a very vague first clue. I thought the other one was vague too. He was a tourney knight of great renown.
There are several of those.
All right, clue number 2. He had an epic struggle of a joust at Ashford. He only won after breaking a dozen lances against his opponent.
That's Humphrey, isn't it?
Humphrey.
Oh, come on.
There's more than one Humphrey, guys.
Humphrey with...
Same person.
His last name starts with an H too, and I can't remember.
No.
It's the other Humphrey that starts with an H.
It's the other Humphrey? Yeah.
Heron Hall? No, it's not Heron Hall. Hinkelsberg? I don't know.
Clue number 3, he died of wounds from Dunk's trial.
Was it Harden?
Yes.
Okay, I knew it was with another H.
All right. All right, I've got one more and then we'll get into the discussion, I promise. The third character, first clue, he fought in the Blackfire Rebellion, the first Blackfire Rebellion, but he did not make it to the Battle of the Redgrass Field in time. No one? Okay, clue number 2. During the Ashford tourney, he was too chivalrous to aim his lance at his opponent's unprotected head. His opponent lost his helmet. I mean, he didn't want to stab him in the eye. He wasn't going to Gregor him or whatever.
Prince Balon?
No. However, the next clue is along those lines. He was one of the men who judged Dunk after his attack on Aerion Targaryen. There were only 4 of them. Baylor was one of them, but not this character.
Is this Longthorn?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Leo.
Cool. What's his last name? I'm
Tyrell.
sorry.
Oh, Tyrell. Yeah,
Okay.
Leo Longthorn Tyrell.
I'm so bad.
I let you go with
Okay,
just
I appreciate that. I
Longthorn.
appreciate
So, for those of us who've read the novellas, Martin describes them as smaller in scale, more personal, and with more humor and more focus on character than Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. And this is a quote too, and this was attributed to him, but like, why would he have said Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon? I feel like he would have said like Song of Ice and Fire and Blood, but whatever. So for the panelists, my first question is, do we think that the show is going to reflect this description? Do we think it is going to, yes, it's going to be smaller in scale. I think that's obvious from the handful of pictures that have come out and stuff, but do you think there's going to be like that more personal, more humor, and more focus on specific characters? Because I feel like also House of the Dragon has done a good job focusing on specific characters, so.
I will say yes, but also I feel like with House of the Dragon, it did a really good job at some points of focusing on the like smaller, more intimate character moments, and I think there were some really good moments in it, like in season 2, like I think it was the Brackens and the Blackwood kids who they're fighting, and then it just cuts to like all the dead bodies. I think, at least in my opinion, what drags House of the Dragon down and what I am worried that will happen with Duncan Egg is that it feels like a very HBO mandated, like you guys also have to have like the big battles and you have to connect it to the Song of Ice and Fire and the Prophecy and the Princess Promise and everything, even though they really like dropped the ball on that one in the main series. So I feel like it's gonna have a similar thing with House of Dragon where it's kind of feel like these two impulses are warring with each other, and I hope maybe they can figure it out for this show. I don't really have a lot of faith, but I think there will be great individual moments probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say I felt the same way. I think that it should be more intimate. I hope it is more intimate, and they will probably start out that way, but I am scared as well that HBO is gonna be like, we need the big stuff. And I think that's gonna be for the fans as well. Some people are gonna be expecting a bigger story, not knowing that this is, smaller, more intimate.
There's no big dragons and there's no big battles.
No big dragons, unfortunately.
I mean, I will say, like, to touch on what you're saying about them trying to pull too much of, like, the Song of It. Like, I'm assuming you're talking about the knife in House of the Dragon. Yeah. So, with the novellas, not in The Hedge Knight and not even in, oh my gosh, what is that? I can never remember the name of the second one. Sworn Sword, thank you. I also hate saying the Sworn Sword. The Sworn Sword? But in the third one, there are dragon eggs that show up at somebody's house. So, and it does tie into, I believe, like the theories or whatever that they're Daenerys's dragon eggs or whatever. But like,
if you're talking about the show, they did confirm that the eggs that they sent up there work.
That's what I thought too. But there's other missing eggs from like earlier stories too. So, but either way, there are dragon eggs in the third novella. So if we get through to a third season or whatever, at least they already exist and they can more easily tie them in than just like, here's a knife with a prophecy on it. They're gonna write the prophecy on the dragon eggs this time, guys.
The only thing that really gives me any kind of hope of it being more, I guess, contained or more personal is that if you look at the list of people that have been cast, it's not 7 pages long, right? So if we don't have a bajillion main characters, we don't have to have a scene that has all those bajillion main characters in it, and we can maybe focus on the smaller scene stuff and the smaller set piece stuff, hopefully. But of course, then you could get 5,000 extras and put them on a field and say you're now an army, right? And they just don't get credited. But that's one of the things that gives me hope. We know that there is a small cast. We know that, well, smaller, it's still a big cast, but hopefully that will keep the train on a more narrow track. Hopefully.
And the episodes are 30 minutes.
Right.
Right.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Also, Martin said that like it's a much smaller budget as well, but like also I'm over here saying, okay, well, but there's no dragons, there's no CGI dragons, there's no CGI direwolves needed, there's no giant battles, at least not in the text, so it doesn't need anywhere close to the budget of either Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, so we'll see.
And another thing that might save that is that most of the stories happen in one place or a small setting, so you don't have to do a lot of location shooting. So
for sure.
That'll definitely cut down on budget.
Yeah, actually, I think other than like the Dunk arriving to Ashford and like the inn that he meets Egg at, and then like in the third novella when they're kind of on the road for a little bit, it's basically like
it's just one.
Yeah.
One kind of, I guess in Sword there's the 2 neighboring castles, but that's so much easier than like we're filming in Iceland and in Spain and in Croatia. Right. Yeah. Do you think there is anything they will leave out of the show or could leave out of it, or something that you're afraid they will leave out? Because it's such a short book, so to speak, and we're doing six 30-minute episodes. I didn't realize they were only 30 minutes, so now I'm like, crap. So yeah, do you think there's anything they will or could leave out from The Hedge Knight?
Didn't they? I might be wrong on this. Aren't they not having Villar in the show, or like he hasn't been cast?
I'm not sure.
I have not seen a casting. To be fair, I have not looked.
Right.
I have not skimmed through the entire IMDb list, but I have not seen his name on any of the things I did look at. So, but I honestly don't know for sure. Now I want to check. Villar is a very small part in the book. So I guess he's not super necessary, but that also takes away his prophetic dream. Really? This is the person you guys are leaving out of the show after the knife incident? Right. Anything else like that you think that they will or could leave out without changing the story to any extent?
I'll be honest to say I'm more worried about stuff getting put in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was going to be my next question.
But it's a fair question. I'll briefly segue to something that's not related. You have The Hobbit, which is a book that's like, 220 pages, and then you end up with 6 hours of movies about it. And they still don't have everything in the book in the 6 hours of movies, so it's not like it's impossible for them to leave something out of a short work. So it's not a completely unfounded question to ask.
Listen, they had to make room for that dwarf elf love story.
No, they didn't. But that I will not get on that soapbox. That's a different universe. So.
It is, but honestly, now I'm curious. What would be Knight of the Seven Kingdoms dwarf elf love story?
Villar has not been cast, but it doesn't say anything about whether or not he's in the show.
I mean, I feel like that's a no because at this point they've got to
they're doing
filming
reshoots,
and everything.
right?
Yeah. I think that, again, it being so short, any of the major plot points being left out could be a problem. And they can't not have Dunk have 7 champions and everything, so we know all those characters are going to be in it regardless. But I guess you said you were, and I was kind of going to feed into this anyway. What do you think they could shoehorn in that you're worried about? I mean, you've already mentioned more prophetic stuff. Do you have anything specific that you're worried about them shoehorning
sexual
in?
assault.
Oh, yes. Oh, of course. Always. Yeah.
I am horribly worried about that. And I'm not even joking at all. There's so much of that in the original Game of Thrones show, and then even in the House of the Dragons. It's not in the material. Why are you making this up? And it's not plot. It's just ridiculous. So I hope they don't do that. It'd just be bad if they did.
Yeah, I will say, at least the original Game of Thrones, I have a lot of issues with how whatever.
Right.
But I will say, I do think in House of the Dragon, I do think they handled sex much more sensitively, and I think they used it most of the time as a very good vehicle for character growth, which is what it should be. And so it definitely is probably still on the docket that if they add assault scenes in Dunk and Egg, but I do think, at least considering how House of the Dragon handled it, I have a little bit more faith.
Yeah, because we also know that there's at least one of the House of the Dragon writers who's a writer-producer of Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So, and also with what was in House of the Dragon, I want to say it's been a while since I watched season 1, but the most egregious was probably Baby Gon and his the servant. Mm-hmm. But in Fire Emblem, there are stories he absolutely did that, so it wasn't something that they totally made up for the show, which is at least something. It wasn't just let's throw it in here, let the night Game of Thrones. What are you most excited to see on screen?
I love horses, so I'm very excited for the tourney.
Yeah.
And Dunk is a horse boy. That's pretty exciting.
I think the egg reveal will be cool.
Yeah.
However they do that.
I'm a big fan of well-acted child characters that are smarter than they're supposed to be. I always appreciate the sarcastic little kid that is one of the smarter people in the room, and nobody expects that. And hopefully the actor that they cast will be able to get the wit the right way, because Egg says so much stuff that we know as the audience is supposed to be cutting and horribly insulting and bad, but he just says it so well sometimes that most people step over it, but then he also does it so badly sometimes that it gets everybody in trouble. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited to see how they handle him being really, really smart, but also still a kid that just isn't supposed to say those things, and then everybody has to fight over it. That to me is going to be really fun.
Well, not only isn't supposed to say those things, but he's saying, a lot of it is him saying them because he's so used to being able to do whatever he wants because he's a Targaryen. So
I also think it'll be fun to see some of the smaller houses that weren't on on thrones, like the Fossaways. Yes. I think that'll be fun since they were kind of cut from the main TV show, but here they can kind of come to the forefront.
Yeah, that's mine. The Fossaways for sure. Very specifically the Green Apple Fossaways. I love the inception story of the Green Apple Fossaways. I'm one of those people who Song of Ice and Fire, Garland Tyrell, his wife Leonette was a Fossaway, right? And they seem so lovely. I'm sure that they're underhanded like all the rest of the people, including the Tyrells, most of the Tyrells. But like, listen, like I want to believe that they're actually just lovely people, and that Leonette has to be a green apple Fossaway because she's a lovely person. Because the red apple Fossaways are the worst. All right, so audience, if you guys have any questions or anything, or just want to say something, like raise your hand.
First, as we just said, it's going to be 30. It's going to be like 30-minute episodes, about 6 episodes, all that. And they're going to do all 3 books. Do you think, because let's all face it, Martin's never going to get to the rest of the novellas or even finish the book, but he has said he does have outlines, like for at least 7 more novellas. Do you think he's just going to give it to them and say, go forth and do it, and we're going to end at the fall of Summerhall?
That's hard to say.
It almost seems that's the right place to end with Duncan and Egg.
I think the answer to that question is going to be how much money they make off of the first season, and then how much money they make off the second one. And I think we might get the one where they're up in the Starks world, which is the
She-Wolves of Winter.
Yeah, the She-Wolves of Winter. Yeah, we may get something from that far. I don't know how long HBO stays with shows anymore, though, because it seems like even good ones that people like, if it doesn't meet their magic, I don't know, parameters or whatever algorithm they're using, they'll kill it halfway through. So it stinks that that's the case. But I mean, I would love to see all of that stuff, but whether or not we do is questionable.
But I mean, I think that him giving them the outlines, that's also, that's a little bit of a toss-up too, because I don't, we know that he wasn't entirely happy with what D&D did with what he gave to them. Now, I think he trusts these people more because a lot of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms people were or are involved with House of the Dragon, and he wasn't even happy with some of the House of the Dragon stuff in season 2. So unless he's already given them this stuff, I would say that it would be dependent on how they handle the season, because like they've only got 1 season for sure right now, so they might not even make it to season 2.
I don't know. They keep saying that it's been renewed for seasons 2 and 3 already.
Oh, do they?
Allegedly, yeah. That's what I keep seeing.
Which is weird because like I googled it preparing for this panel, and like I saw nothing official.
It may not have been official because I just saw this in my feed. I don't think I really went into it. So.
I'm with you. I don't trust HBO all that much.
Yeah.
Listen, they can't even pick a name for their own stinking network. Okay.
To kind of go off of that a little bit, we've had a pretty absent summer with nothing out there to really go off of, and I know this production's been pushed back. What do you think this is going to do in terms of the greater universe of Game of Thrones if we go from nothing to now getting continuous content with House of the Dragon Season 3, The Night of the Seven Kingdoms? I've heard there's a possible movie coming out. How do you think the fan base and everybody's going to be consuming that? Is it going to be oversaturation?
I don't know. Again, I think a lot of that is dependent on how they handle Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Because also, Night of the Seven Kingdoms is supposed to come out winter 2026. Right. And so the main rumors are like January, February, which is a weird time for this type of show. Because like I think the earliest any of them have ever premiered was Game of Thrones, maybe in like late March in the early years. Yeah, in the early years. Back when it was actually a year between seasons. Do you guys remember those days? And House of the Dragon, is that season 3? Is that definitely coming out next year? Because I haven't heard.
For sure.
And I saw something that was like, oh, it'll probably come out next summer, but it was just, somebody guessing based on when the last season came out, and you literally cannot count on that anymore. I mean, how long have we been waiting for like the last of Stranger Things? So it's not just HBO, but even, HBO too. It's like 2 years, 2.5 years sometimes. So it might not be that much of an issue because it might be more spread out than we think, but there is always, like Walking Dead. My God, let's talk about oversaturation. That is like probably the perfect example. Because at one point, I think the main show hadn't ended yet, and they were already airing like The World Beyond, and they also had Fear of the Walking Dead. The main show ended before Daryl Dixon came out, but there were at least 3 shows going on at the same time, and now there's 2. Yeah, Dead City, stupid name, and the Daryl Dixon show. So yeah, like, and people are tired of it. The ratings drop every single episode with those shows, and I would not be shocked if that happened with these, but also again, a lot of it is dependent on how they actually handle the content. And listen, Night of the Seven Kingdoms is such an easy thing to produce. I mean, you are on a screenwriting panel, so you can probably speak to this, but you've read Night of the Seven Kingdoms, or The Hedge Knight specifically. Like, that's got to be a really easy novella to turn into a script the way it's written.
Yeah, I do feel like Game of Thrones is in a very weird place in the culture right now, because they did whiff it so badly in season
Yeah.
8 that even like
So
people, the people who had read the books probably way earlier were like, oh my god, like Lady Stoneheart, no. I mean, I was one of those people. So. And then, but like season 8 was so poorly received that like even the people who weren't like hardcore fans were kind of like it lost a lot of like, obviously it's still very relevant, we're having this panel and all that, but I think it lost a lot of sway in the culture. And I think like you can look at House of the Dragon is very popular, but I don't think it has anywhere close to the cultural reach that Game of Thrones did, and I don't think it ever will, even if they really turn it around for season 3 and it's like awesome. And so I think even if we do have Dunkin' Egg and House of the Dragon, I think the only oversaturation we would be worried, like I don't think we really need to worry about oversaturation, because I think at this point the people watching it has really been winnowed down to I think the more hardcore fans who really aren't going to be driven away by most things, would be my opinion.
I think the biggest issue, honestly, with Night of the Seven Kingdoms is going to be that, yes, it's set in the world, but it's basically like A Knight's Tale, but with like less current cultural music and references and stuff.
I love that movie so much.
Oh no, I know, I love A Knight's
so
Tale,
great.
but that's kind of the closest comparison that I can think of, and I think that it'll be good in its own right because of what it is. But I also think that, like you said, there are a lot of viewers that were lost because of the bad ending of Game of Thrones. Now, I do think Night of the Seven Kingdoms is going to have like less of the political and also definitely less of the darkness than House of the Dragon does. But is it going to be enough to draw in new viewers is the real question. And I don't think it's going to happen right away. And also, even with Game of Thrones, it didn't really happen right away. Game of Thrones was a build. Like, I know tons of people who had never read the books and didn't start watching it until like the second or third season. So it was a build. And hopefully, like, we can get a slow build with the Hedge Knight story. But because there's no dragons and there's no direwolves and there's no magic, I think it depends on the viewers and whether or not they're going to be interested in this type of story.
I mean, I'm sure there are going to be people that watch the first season and don't even realize that it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Other
than the Targaryen existence.
But they might not even know that because everybody just says Daenerys. So, I mean, it's totally quite different. But I like the point that you mentioned. Like, the first really big cultural moment that we had with Game of Thrones originally was the Red Wedding, and that wasn't even close to the beginning of the series. So, what was the big cultural moment from season 1 that everybody talked about?
Ned's death, I'm sure.
Yeah, but, like, we all knew that was coming if we knew it was coming. But that didn't hit as hard as, like, holy crap, did you see that guy murder everybody? Right.
Yeah.
So that was like the moment, but that was season 3, right?
Yeah.
Do y'all believe that since the book is so small, that it might be used as a stepping stone in between seasons of other series?
Just to make sure everybody heard, she's asking because the book is so short, whether or not it could be or will be used as a stepping stone between other series, like between
The House of the Dragon or one of the other follow-ups.
Oh, okay. Between like House of the Dragon and either the movie that was mentioned or other follow-ups.
If HBO is good at programming, which is questionable, I feel like
It did start with if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would be a good idea to keep cultural relevancy. But who knows? And I think, especially because House of the Dragon season 2 got so thrown by like the strikes and everything, I think that probably the production schedule is a little funky. But I mean, I think that would be great if they did.
Yeah, I think that was the intention at first. I'm not sure if that's still what they're going for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the problem too. It's like that was the intention, but then like the writer's strikes happened, and like you said, it threw off House of the Dragon season 2, and also, of course, this show has been pushed back how many times now? And the other part that's crazy about that is like this is not a huge show. It doesn't have, again, like I already said, it doesn't have the direwolves, the dragons, all the CGI and everything. Like, what is taking y'all so long? What did you do wrong the first time? Because you said they're in reshoots, I think, or were just in reshoots recently, which that concerns me. But fingers crossed.
Hopefully, it was just editing stuff.
Yeah.
We needed this shot from a different angle, so we're going to do this. Yeah. Hopefully, that's what it was, and it wasn't. We showed this to people, and they couldn't understand what the devil was going on because the plot was so bad. So we had to go back and fix it. Hopefully, that's not what it was.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Knocking on wood, if say they do botch it and HBO somehow just drops the entire Game of Thrones universe from their lineup, in the future, if it gets picked up again by a different studio because Martin comes out with the rest of the books and everyone's excited about it, who would you like to pick up the franchise?
You mean network-wise?
Yeah, network-wise.
Do you mean like just to have the distribution rights, or do you mean like to create something like a
Create
new
something
adaptation?
new, or maybe redo it. Fox or Disney.
Fortiche Animation Studios should
Yeah,
make
but
it.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's what I say.
I'm dead set. I'd be happy with that. I'd be totally happy with an animated Dunk and Egg TV show that was 23 minutes long, that, you know, had 15, 16 episodes in a season. I think that's fine. And I really, this kind of came up last night in a panel that was on. I really think that studios need to wake up on animation.
Yeah.
Like, we really do. There's really great stuff that's animated that is impactful, culturally relevant, speaks to issues that are happening right now, and it costs way less and you can get it done way faster. I really think we need to wake up on animation stuff.
The problem with that is, though, if I may,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
it always comes down to the fact of animation takes a long time, no matter
Yeah.
what you do, and it can be extremely costly, and they cannot get back the money it is. Like, take K-pop Demon Hunter recently. Sony sold it to Netflix because they had no faith in it. And now I'm sure the guy who really convinced them, let's just sell it off to Netflix, has probably been thrown out of building by now.
Sure,
Because
but
they also gave up the rights to the music, and
Yeah.
like, do you know how much money is being made off of those songs right
They
now?
make nothing on the theatrical run.
But
Sony's got nothing out of it.
yeah, but that's Sony being dumb.
Yeah.
Right, but the animation itself is fine. The movie itself is pretty.
You know that.
Yeah,
I know
sure.
that. Everybody in this room knows that. But the problem is that you're trying to convince a lot of people on these executive boards. Wait, you mean this entirely costly thing that that we don't have a franchise or yada 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 to?
Right.
That we could honestly lose money to? It's a cost-effective ratio, and that's the only way they see it. They don't see people having fun. This. I mean, come on. They canned 2 Looney Tunes movies that were going to be good.
Coyote versus Acme is going to be
Yes,
distributed now.
Right,
Yay.
right. That took a long time to get, and
Yeah.
when the Earth blew up, not the greatest thing they ever did, but it was still solid. But again, they just think of this costs so much, we can't make money off it. There's no way it's going to happen because it's not family friendly, it's not Disney friendly, it's not kid friendly. That's the whole my thing.
I mean, I get it.
agree with you.
I'm with
Get
it.
up to animation, but they're always thinking it from a cost fallacy.
And also, like, Night of the Seven Kingdoms would be like the perfect one for them to
Sure.
get started with animation, but they didn't. So now it's like, oh, I don't think they're gonna switch it to animation, you know, for a season 2. But I mean, other networks, maybe Apple TV, maybe. The problem with Apple TV is like at least the shows that I've watched and loved with them that are like genre, like Silo, or a lot of them aren't really like big production scale, like House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. But again, Night of the Seven Kingdoms is supposed to be smaller. So what were you gonna say? What do you?
I told myself a joke. I was thinking about other shows on Apple TV, and then I thought Egg Lasso. So I'm sorry, that was completely non sequitur. I could just see him coaching it.
Anybody else have any other network ideas or?
I don't know, that's a tough one.
Yeah. It's a tough one right now because a lot of the streaming
Yeah.
services are what you'd have to go with because
If it was going to be
There wasn't
something
all the
with even a
money.
kind of a similar budget, it would probably be Amazon. And I don't
Yeah.
like saying that because
Yeah.
I just don't like saying it. But it's probably the case.
Yeah.
Like if they took it over, they're willing to sink billions of dollars.
and
into
I'll be
things.
honest,
And
like I wouldn't choose Amazon because I haven't
I wouldn't choose
really
it either.
liked any of their shows that were fantasy.
Did not love how they handled Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
But they are, I feel like they are one of the bigger streamers that are willing to sink
Yeah,
money
I mean,
into
they'll put
fantasy
money into
it.
adaptations, whether they're good or not, I think it's a different
Yeah,
conversation,
that's-
but I feel
yeah.
like, you know, at the very least, I'm like,
they have the
yay.
money. They
I
have
don't
the
know,
money for
half-hearted
sure.
yay.
Yeah.
It could change now that they're distributed. Was it Leslie Hellison is where her name is?
Headland?
Yes, she's been let go from them, and a lot of the production problems, like Rings of Power, why certain shows wouldn't go up. She basically was spending more money than they
Yeah,
got.
there's a really good Hollywood Reporter article about that, guys.
Yeah, so now that she's gone, we could see a change, but
We'll see.
With this series, it'll be kind of like a handbook because like it's not gonna have the dragons, it's not gonna have all of the
Oh yeah, that's a good
magic type of stuff. But see, Andor didn't have the Jedi's and all of that
Right.
stuff, and it's become a fan favorite.
Mm.
I really hope if they do it right, that this will become a fan favorite just because of that fact.
Yeah.
It's not so steeped in all of that other stuff.
Just to make sure everybody heard, because I know it's a little. He was saying that Andor has become like such a fan favorite show, right? And he would hope that Night of the Seven Kingdoms becomes sort of like Andor. Like, yes, it doesn't have the dragons and the direwolves, just like Andor doesn't have the Jedi and whatnot. But Andor has like become a thing in its own right, and he would love to see that for this show. Hopefully, series. Hopefully, we'll get more than one season. I completely agree. Love Andor. Andor's definitely a little bit like of a darker sort of tale than Night of the Seven Kingdoms is, but but I don't think that necessarily, like, that's not the real big main reason why Andor has been successful. It's been successful because it was simply good in its own right. Just like Rogue One, honestly. Like, Rogue One was such a good movie, and it doesn't have really a huge Star Wars feel because it's missing most of the Jedi elements and whatnot, but Rogue One was a great film because it's more relatable, and I think a lot of what is good about the Dunk and Egg stories is the same thing, that they are relatable. Like, Dunk is, he's trying so hard, you know, he starts with nothing and he's just wanting to like make a living, and he kind of bumbles around. And then you've got Egg, who has everything, and he's kind of a brat, you know, like Martin said, it being like more character driven. Right. I hope that we get that from the portrayals and the writing too for the show, because it's the characters that really, it's less what they go through, I think, and more the characters that make these stories. So I don't know, you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think everything should aspire to be like Andor. That's all I'm saying. Andor rocks.
So Tara, I know you made this a spoiler zone, so thank you for setting that tone. Question for Anna, because I think you said you were in like production and writing, and then Courtney, you were in production as well. If you had the opportunity, George came to you, HBO came to you and said, hey, what opportunity, what moment in this next Night of the Seven Kingdoms would you want to like give your input into or a production into?
I would go power hungry and I would take over the entire thing.
I trust you.
Okay, great.
I definitely want to direct it for sure, yeah.
Are there any like scenes or moments that you would be like, oh yeah, I would totally love to be a part of that?
Are you talking like the entire, like all three?
Yeah, all three. I think all three novellas, yeah.
Oh my god. Well, I love all the like Duncan Rohan stuff. That's so fun, and I think like, I don't know, I really like the Sworn. I think the Sworn Sword is my favorite just because I really like how small scale it is, and like, you know, it still touches on like, you know, it's like, oh, this guy fought in the Blackfire Rebellion for the wrong side, and blah blah blah, but it's still very like, it's these smaller lords, it's not anything super huge, they don't have huge castles, they're also just trying to get by, and I think like the Duncan Rohan relationship is really fun. Also, anything with horses, I would direct so or I'd be like the horse handler.
There's like at least 80% less horses in the Sworn Sword than in the Hedge Knight, though.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the Mystery Knight actually.
There you go.
Journey, and I'll just be the horse handler.
But they do ride back and forth between the castles, so I mean you get some good scenes, establishing shots.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can be like AD or something.
Okay, cool. I've always heard bad things about animals, so I'll let her take care of that. For me, it's more because it's such a character-driven story, like we've been saying, and I'm big into character development, so that would be the most fun, I think, for me, is to really get into those aspects of it.
So how are we going to make this happen? Right?
Just financing.
Yeah.
I hope that we get a season 2. I cannot wait to see who they cast as Zoran Weber. That the chemistry between whoever they cast and the Dunk actor has to be like so on point, though. They could very easily go so wrong with it because like you want somebody who looks like her too. Like you want that petite little woman with the really long red hair. I mean, wigs can do that. Hopefully there'll be good wigs and not House of the Dragon style wigs, or like a Rhaegar's wig in Game of Thrones. There's always some just really bad ones, you guys. But getting someone who like both looks the part, and I guess like she doesn't necessarily have to look that way, but her looks are extremely important in that novella. So having her look the part and also have the chemistry with the Dunk actor is gonna be a really interesting find if they can get both things right.
I have no credentials in this, but I think my favorite moment in the first story is when the trial has been set and we're going to have to find 7 people, and Duncan is like, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to find 7 people. And then they show up and there's this moment where he's like, these people are here for me. And I think that was such an important moment in that book, because then he kind of realizes that, I mean, he's not in their world, but he's got a toe in at that point, because he's got people that are willing to stand for him because of who he is. And that reinforces his character development so well. And I'm even getting kind of goosebumps. I really like that moment when they show up and he's like, holy crap, I do have people that will stand with me. That to me is going to be a really important point in the show. And if I got to direct, I would screw it up really badly.
The horses would look good, though.
The horses would look great. great, but I would be horrible at it.
Yeah,
so.
it's going to be interesting to see how they do that because, of course, in the novella, we're in Dunk's head.
Right.
And I agree. I reread these books, and it's like, there was definitely at least one time when I was rereading them. It might have been before Dragon Con last year, because I was prepping for the Night of the Seven Kingdoms panel last year, too. And I read that moment, and I got choked up, I got that feeling in the back of your throat. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how if they even portray it, how they do, since I assume we're not in Dunk's head, like we are in the novella. But I do love that. Like, he doesn't think he's gonna get the number of people he needs, and then it's like, oh, they're here for me. And like the laughing storm. Martin has been extremely praiseworthy of the laughing storm, which I'm very excited about.
And it's not even like 7 nobodies. These are like big people, like heavy hitters that show up. It's great. It's so great. I think that may be one of the best scenes that Martin's ever written, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. So.
It's certainly one of the lighter scenes.
As far as non-book elements, do you think they'll try to somehow tie Brienne of Tarth or the Isle of Tarth into Dunk's story because of the book from Game of Thrones when they were reading all the knights and everything?
Yes, I doubt it'll be this season, right? And possibly not even, if we get past this, because obviously, we know that we've only got the 3 novellas. The She-Wolves of Winter has been in the works for like over a decade, just like everything else, apparently. So who knows if we'll ever see the actual books, but I do think that Martin was always obviously planning on working that in. Whether the show will work it in earlier, I mean, they might too, because they don't know I don't know if they'll do it again. I don't know if they'll do it this season, but if there is a second or third season, I wouldn't be shocked if they worked it into Mystery Night, maybe, if that's as far as they are going to get. But I mean, and that's something I wouldn't really mind either, because it's not shoehorning in a non-existent knife prophecy. It's, an actual thing that we know of this connection already. So, plus I just love that Brienne is a descendant somehow.
I haven't read the books of the 17th, but since where I'm hearing the name Egg, is there any way that he's related to Master Aemon of the Black Castle?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And then actually, I would like to pose a question to my Fannel
Pelois.
We are
Fannel Pelois.
We are fans of you. We're on the panel. Fannel works because English is a dumb language.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Petition to change Dragon Con panels to Fannels.
Oh my god, because in the show, they skip the Targaryen generation, so they make Aemon the uncle of the Mad King. They skip over guys like getting Targ, so much stuff. Thank you. So I don't know, do you guys see that affecting anything in the story?
I had
very
honestly
intrigued.
completely forgotten that they did that
I had
in Game
too,
of
and then I was
Thrones.
rewatching the first season, and I was like, wait, what? Aemon is not that guy's uncle. What are you talking about?
I think it's far enough back that they're probably not going to call attention to it. And I think if they don't call attention to it, the number of people that are likely to recognize it is fairly small. Not saying that there's anything wrong with knowing the lore. I respect the lore, but I don't think that the average viewer probably is going to be able to put all the timelines together enough to go wait a second, we're missing years. But that's just my thoughts.
Again, I didn't even remember that they did that in Game of Thrones, and I was kind of assuming that if not in the first season, then certainly possible later seasons we would get a mention, because Maester Aemon went to the Wall because he didn't want to be pitted against his brother.
Right.
And, he knew that if he stayed and was Grand Maester or whatever, or literally anywhere else where he wasn't sworn to another life, that they would probably pit him against Egg. So I kind of was assuming they would do that because I had forgotten that they had that whole generation skipped. So I feel like they will, though. I feel like they will mention it because it's one of the few things that ties so directly, like the Brienne thing, to the main series.
So are you saying that they're going to technically retcon and add in the generation back?
I mean, if they do, I don't care, because that's the way it was written originally by Martin. So it wouldn't bother me at all if they retcon anything really from Game of Thrones at this point. I don't know. I mean, would it bother you if they retconned that, or?
I would love to. I love Jaehaerys II, believe it or not. He actually is an interesting take on what happens when PTSD takes hold of someone in major power. Interesting thing happened, the start of the power block with what I like to call the staff. Stark, Tully, Baratheon, and
Aaron?
Yeah. Which it also kind of leads into what was going to be my nickname, the potential blast, which was Baratheon Lannister. Tywin wanted in, and
Yeah.
it would be interesting to see how that was going to happen.
The other thing is too that I don't think we're gonna get a lot of those like middle stories, right? So that generation that they mentioned skipping, I don't even know if that would matter one way or the other. I'm highly suspect of the idea of us seeing any of those kind of minor Targaryen stories. Like we're getting House of the Dragon because that was a big, the Greens versus Blacks was a big thing, and it's like literally leading to the dying of the dragons. But I don't think we would get any of these like smaller things. If we ever get Fire and Blood Part 2, it'll be in that, I'm sure, but I'm never holding my breath for these things.
No.
Do we know exactly what they're going to do with the Blackfires, seeing that, they don't really show up or really talked about in the main series? Does HBO, are they just going to add them back in? Like, do we have really an idea of how they're going to handle that?
I would expect at least a few flashback scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not in this season, I wouldn't think.
I mean, it'd be more relevant in the second and the third if they did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's going to be a lot of confusion with the average viewer if they bring in literally all of the Targaryens that are in these stories. Because even when you're reading them, it's a little bit difficult to try to track who is who. So they're going to have to play that pretty delicate.
With Valar not being cast.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit surprising because with him you get like that prophetic dream stuff. So if there's no Valar, they're probably, my guess is they're going to give it to another character. But I don't know for sure. And if they don't have it at all, that kind of removes that one small bit of these novellas that is actually the mythical, like fantastical side of things. I think that if there is a season 2 that is very much based on the Sword and Sword, unless they change some major stuff about that, they're going to have to give us some information about the Blackfire Rebellion. My guess would be flashbacks, but that could also end up being very awkward. So yeah, we'll see, I guess. And I guess, again, all this is dependent on there officially being a second season.
We're just assuming and hoping. And we'll, by force of that alone, bring it into existence.
I feel like there's a very, very good chance there is going to be a second season. Like, I would be extremely shocked if there wasn't. This show would have to bomb so hard for them to not go on with at least a season 2. Whether it goes beyond that, I think, is the bigger question.
Do we know of it adapting all 3 stories from the book for the first season, or?
Oh no, it's just the Hedge Knight. Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know, it is the entirety of the Hedge Knight. I hope to God they're not splitting it. Honestly, now that I know that the episodes are only 30 minutes, I am very concerned that they're going to split the Hedge Knight into 2 seasons. I have not seen that is definitely the case in any of the articles or anything I've read, but that is very concerning to me because, like, I do not want 6 30-minute episodes of this story and then to be cut off, like,
they're gonna leave him in jail.
They're gonna leave it like
oh no, why did I
or cut it off right before the tourney. I feel like there's no way for them to tell this story and split it in any sort of like decent way, but they've done weirder things, you guys, so
I don't think that's going to be a problem. In one of the previews, they showed Junk on the tourney grounds getting up. I think that was right after he beat the crap out of him. So I think that, we're getting the full thing.
Okay, good spot.
Yeah, I saw some pictures, but it's hard to, like, the ones I've seen where it looked like people were fighting were like the Fossaways, and they are practice fighting real early in the story, so.
I'm pretty sure that was the last one where he got up after the beatdown. So.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but just feel
I mean, fingers crossed, because, like, I have had that thought before this, that they might cut the novella into 2 seasons, and, like,
Not a fan.
And it's too much. Like, you don't need to drag it out. You already have 3 novellas written. Like, you do not need 2 seasons for, what is it, like an 80-page novella? You do not need 2 seasons for that. But this is...
movies for The Hobbit either.
Like, look what they... honestly, like... Look what they did with Squid Game, the most recent seasons. Look what they had been doing with Stranger Things, and like with Cobra Kai, like all, and these are all Netflix shows that I'm thinking of where they split something that should be its own season into 2 different things. But again, HBO also doesn't know what their name is, so.
The problem with these shows and getting child actors is they grow a lot. Would you be okay with an older egg, like in the later seasons? Like, he wouldn't be a fluffy child.
I'm going to say yes because there are good time skips between these novellas. Like, there's a whole, at least a year, I believe, between...
They go to Dorne.
Yeah, they go all the way to Dorne and come all the way back.
Yeah, there's like a year between Hedge Knight and Sword, and I don't know exactly how long between Sword and Mystery Knight. It might not be a full year, but it's definitely a good amount of time because they're talking about having been on the road
Right.
for a while.
I don't
and
know
like,
if it's specific. I'm sure that there's
yeah, I don't think it's
tell you
specific
exactly
either.
what it
There
is.
might be a time, like a fan timeline, or even Martin maybe said something at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are good like chunks of time between each novella. And actually, I even think, I can't remember if it's the second or third novella, like there's remarks made by Dunk about like how Aegon is like completely grown out of his clothes and stuff.
Right.
That actually, weirdly enough, works in the favor of these long season breaks. Hopefully they don't like become super egregious with it. Cough, cough, Stranger Things. I'm watching a bunch of 25-year-olds or whatever pretend to be like 16 or 15 or something. I'm over it. But yeah, I think as long as we're not 3 years between seasons, I think it'll be okay.
And I think the fact that Egg shaves his head is actually going to help that if they do, because hair color means that you can cast people that are, you don't have to dye it, you can just shave their head. Everybody's head shade looks kind of the same anyway. Just visually, I think that'll help.
All of you, what's your favorite minor house? Not the big ones, minor.
Green Apple Fossaways, does that count? They're not teeny tiny minor, but they're lesser lords, like very much lesser lords.
That's mine too, so.
I mean, I like Barbary Dustin a lot, so I'll say the Dustins. But
Yeah.
I mean, she goes,
They're pretty, that's a
they're
minor
the
house
small
for sure.
ones.
Does Aaron count even though they get weird later on?
No, they're a major house. They're a great house.
Well,
they're like the main seat of the Vale. I also like just the name Beesbury is funny to me.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I don't know if I have one. I'll just be honest. One of the problems that I tend to have, I'm horrible with names, and especially reading Martin books where there are 1,000, a lot of the characters start blending into like, oh, that's the guy with the bat thing to me, right? And I know that's not necessarily a good way of approaching story, but a lot of people that aren't in the main story that are peripheral just start turning into, oh, that's the guy that has the thing on his sigil to me. And I'm really kind of glad that Martin likes to talk about heraldry so much because it gives me a visual cue, right? Like, I know what that looks like. I don't remember who that guy is, though. That's probably a cop-out answer, but it's an honest one.
Has anybody else seen the picture of Dunk with his shield on his back with his, well, it's Sir Arlen of Pennytree's heraldry, but the winged chalice, it's really cool looking. You should look up the picture. It's maybe a little more like stylized than I was expecting, but I was surprised like how much I really, really, really liked it. We are about to wrap up. We might have time for one, if there's one more quick question, I might have time for it. Yes, no, maybe so. Last call. Okay. Again, my name's Sarah. You can find me on the web at Geek Saga, or just look up the Geek Saga podcast. And anybody else want to plug one more thing before we go?
drinkingmovies.com/track/Ana-Harris.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for listening to the Geek Saga podcast. If you like what you heard, please check out other Geek Saga entertainment endeavors, including the Sagas and Sass webcast and podcast and Ice and Fire Con.